On this video, we will talk about Chapter 3, Phases and Process of Curriculum Development and Lesson for Implementing the Curriculum. This topic is all about change process in curriculum implementation. The next step after a curriculum planning and designing is implementing it. As a future teacher, this is one of the major roles that we do in the school to be implementer and a manager of this curricula, to put action to what has been planned and designed, and finally, to add more meaning to various activities in the classroom. This is what we call teaching styles, where we will make the day of our learners interesting, engaging, and unforgettable. Curriculum implementation. Curriculum implementation is putting into practice the written curriculum that has been designed in syllabi, curves of study, curricular guides, and subjects. It's a process wherein the learners acquire the planned or intended knowledge, skills, and attitudes that are aimed at enabling the same teachers to function effectively in the society. According to Ornstein and Hankins on 1998, they defined curriculum implementation as the interaction between the curriculum that has been written and planned and the person who are in charge to deliver it, which is the teacher. To them, curriculum implementation implies the following. First, it is the shift from what is the content to a new or enhanced curriculum. Second is the change in knowledge, actions, attitudes of the person involved. And third is the change in behavior using new strategies and resources. And lastly, it is the change which requires efforts, hence goals should be achievable. Moreover, Lux and Lieberman define curriculum implementation as the trying out of new practice and what it looks like when actually used in a school system, which simply means to bring the desired change and improvement. Now, let's move on to Kurt Lewin's force field theory and curriculum change. Kurt Lewin is the father of social psychology who explains the process of change. This model can be used to explain curriculum change and implementation. In education landscape, there are always two forces that oppose each other. These are the driving force and the restraining force. When two forces are equal, the state is equilibrium or balance. There will be a status quo, hence there will be no change. The situation or condition will stay the same. However, when the driving force overpowers the restraining force, then change will occur. If the opposite happens, that is when the restraining force is stronger than the driving force, change is prevented. This is the idea of Kurt Lewin in his force field theory. According to Lewin, change will be better if the restraining force shall be decreased rather than increasing the driving force. On the illustration, the driving force is cost-cutting, while the restraining force is fear of role changes. To be able to achieve curriculum implementation as a change process, we need to increase forces of driving forces, which is to emphasize cost savings in communication. Next is the driving force, which is the staff dissatisfaction, while the restraining force is the morale, which we can have the change in curriculum implementation by raise morale by creating incentives to support the change. Next is the driving forces, which is streamlined process, which data kept in one place, while restraining forces is downstream impacts on other systems, which we achieved curriculum implementation as a change by involving downstream staff members to cover up risks. Next driving force is the increased competition, while the restraining forces is the disruption to business as usual. To increase net forces for change, systems must be put in place to minimize disruption to business. Next driving force is the project sponsor pressure, while the restraining force is the environmental impacts of technology. And to increase net forces for changes, we must enroll leadership and create change champions who visibly support the change. Overall, the driving forces are the factors that push for adoption and successful implementation of a new curriculum. They could include factors like perceived benefits of the new curriculum, alignment with educational goals, positive feedback from educators, and evidence of improved learning outcomes. On the other hand, the restraining forces are the factors that resist or hinder the implementation of the new curriculum. They might include resistance from teachers or staff, lack of resources or training, conflicting educational philosophies, or concerns about disruptions in learning processes. While on the equilibrium, initially there might be a balance between the driving and restraining forces. This equilibrium represents the current state of curriculum implementation. If the driving forces are stronger, the curriculum change will be more likely to succeed. If the restraining forces are stronger, the change will face more challenges. To successfully implement a new curriculum, educational leaders can use Lewin's model to devise strategies. They can work in strengthening the driving forces, for instance, by providing clear evidences of the benefits or offering training and support. Additionally, they can work on reducing the impacts of restraining forces, perhaps by addressing concerns, providing necessary resources, or involving stakeholders in decision making. And as the implementation progresses, it's crucial to continuously assess the driving and restraining forces. This allows for adjustments and strategies to maintain momentum or address unexpected challenges. By applying Lewin's force field theory, educators and educational leaders can have a structured approach to understand, plan, and manage the process of curriculum implementation, leading to a more effective and sustainable educational changes. Now, let's move on to the concept of change, which change is a constant law of nature. It brings improvement, and change is an ongoing process. In change is a constant law of nature, it suggests that it is natural world. Things are always in a state of flux. This principle applies not only to physical phenomena, but also to various aspects of our lives, societies, and civilizations. Change is a fundamental aspect of existence, and it's inevitable. One of the key benefits of a change is that it brings about improvements. When things evolve, they have the potential to become better, more efficient, or more adapted to new environment. This improvement can manifest in various forms such as technological advancements, societal progress, or personal growth. For instance, consider how technology has changed over the years. The introduction of new technologies has revolutionized the way we live, work, and communicate. These advancements have brought about numerous conveniences, increased productivity, and enhanced the overall quality of life for many people. Change is also an ongoing process. It doesn't happen in isolation or reach a final state. It is a continuous. As time progresses, circumstances, environments, and knowledge evolve, necessitating further adaptation and development. This ongoing nature of change allows for continuous learning, growth, and refinement in various aspects of life. Embracing change and recognizing it as a constant force can improve individuals and societies to adapt, innovate, and thrive in an ever-changing world. It encourages flexibility, resilience, and an openness to new ideas and experience. And those who are willing to embrace change are more likely to seize opportunities for improvement and progress, as taught in the curriculum process. Curriculum implementation as a process. Next, let's move on to the features of change, which it is a process, not an event. It requires time, energy, and resources, and it is achieved incrementally and entails development in feelings and skills. Next is the process of curriculum change, which may be assisted by permissiveness and support in accordance of a helpful with a helpful improvement in curriculum. Changing curriculum changes individuals. Also, it must be necessary in consideration that the resources of implementation of curriculum are available or not.
And now, let's move on to the categories of curriculum change. Categories of curriculum change consist of 5. The first one is substitution. Sa substitution, ang kasalukuyang curriculum ay mapapalitan ng bago. That's why sometimes we call this a complete overhaul. For example, changing an old book to entirely new one, which is naikukumpara ito sa pagbabago ng curriculum. The second one is the alteration, na kung saan may konting pagbabago sa current or existing curriculum. If some material, content, item, or procedure is introduced into the existing material and is adapted, it is an alteration. For example, instead of using a graphic paper for mathematics, teaching this can be altered by using graphing calculator. The third one is the restructuring. Kung ikukumpara natin sa alteration, minor change ang pagbabago sa curriculum. Dito sa restructuring, it's a major change. It's building a new structure would mean major change or modification in the school system, degree program, or educational system. Using an integrated curriculum for the whole school for K-12 requires the primary and secondary levels to work as a team. Another example is a curriculum that will be restructured when there is a significant involvement of parents in child's learning, instead of leaving everything to the teacher. The use of the in-school and off-school or blended curriculum is a restructuring. The fourth category of curriculum change is the perturbations, which is the changes are disruptive, but teachers have to adjust to them within a short time. For example, if the principal changes the time schedule because there is a need to catch up with the national testing time, the teacher has to shorten the schedule to accommodate unplanned extracurricular activities. The last categories of curriculum change is the value orientation. This classification will respond to shift in the emphasis that the teacher provides which are not within the mission or vision of the school or vice versa. For example, when new teachers who are recruited in religious schools give emphasis on academics and forget the formation of values or faith, they need a curriculum value orientation. Likewise, to all teachers in the public schools undergo teacher induction program, which is a special curriculum for newly hired teachers. Regardless of the kind of change in curriculum and implementation, the process of change contains 3 important elements. As a process, curriculum implementation should be developmental, participatory, and supportive. The first important element in the process of change is the developmental. It should be developmental in the sense that it should develop multiple perspectives, increase integration, and make learning autonomous, create a climate of openness and trust, and appreciate and affirm strengths of the teacher. There should be a teacher support in trying new tasks, reflection on the new experiences, and challenge. There are simple stages in the developmental change process for the teachers. First is orientation and preparation. The initial use is very mechanical or routinary. However, as the skills are honed and mastery of routine is established, refinement follows. This means adjustments are made to better meet the needs of the learners and achieve the learning outcomes. In this step, there will be continuous reflection, feedback, and refinement. The next one is the participatory. For curriculum implementation to succeed, it should be participatory, especially because other stakeholders like peers, school leaders, parents, and curriculum specialists are necessary. Characteristic of teacher styles, commitment, willingness to change, skill, and readiness are critical to implementation. This should be coupled with our organizational structure, principal style, student population characteristic, and other factors. Trust among key players should also be sought as this is a positive starting point. Involvement and participation encourage sense of ownership and accountability. Participation builds learning community which is very necessary in curriculum implementation. The last elements in the process of change is the supportive. Supportive curriculum implementation is required in the process of change. Material support like supplies, equipment in conductive learning environment like classrooms and laboratory should be made available. Likewise, human support is very much needed. The school leader or head should provide full school or institutional support to the implementation of the new curriculum change as part of the instructional as well as management functions. Time is an important commodity for successful change process. For any innovation to be fully implemented, period of 3 to 5 years to institutionalize a curriculum is suggested. Time is needed by the teacher to plan and adapt, train or practice, provide the necessary requirements and get support. Time is also needed to determine when the implementation starts and when it will conclude, since curriculum implementation is time-bound. Support from peers, principal, external stakeholders will add to the success of implementation. When teachers share ideas, work together, solve problems, create new materials, and celebrate success, more likely that curriculum implementation will be welcomed.